Superintendent from Wales has been jailed for 12 years for sexually assaulting underage boys. The court found that 79-year-old Gordon Anglesea used his position as a police officer to abuse two teenage boys near Wrexham in the 1980s. One victim said that he'd been handed around like a handbag by a paedophile ring that preyed on children in the care system in North Wales. Sky's Tom Parmenter reports now from Mould Crown Court.
It's taken decades, but Gordon Anglesea's crimes have finally caught up with him.
Mr. Anglesea, Duke said that it's now over, Mr. Anglesea.
Once a senior policeman, now a convicted paedophile. It's 30 years since Michael last saw Anglesea. He gave evidence to the police about what he went through, but wasn't part of the trial. Undeterred, he took his place in court to see Anglesea sent down.
A tyrant, a bully, you know, a predator. He ran the police, he wasn't the police. He was Gordon Anglesea, you know. He was Gordon Anglesea. And now he's just a prisoner. You know, he's going to be a name and a number. He's going to be in the shower block tonight with everyone else. And just couldn't listen to him. He shouldn't be at liberty. He should be where he is, in the cells right now.
The homes he was in around Wrexham offered the worst kind of care. There was a network of abusers that Gordon Anglesea was linked into.
The two men who gave evidence in this trial had similar experiences. One said he was passed around like a handbag from one powerful man to another. And who could they go to for help? The local policeman looking out for them was Gordon Anglesea.
He'd faced abuse allegations in the 90s. Sky News was with him at the High Court in 1994.
We're in the hands of the jury.
He won the case and the settlement of £375,000.
For 3.5 years we've had to live with the damaging press revelations and try and live a normal life with a family. That has been tremendously difficult.
So Gordon Anglesea left court, but more importantly to him, he proved that he is indeed a respectable man.
Dean Nelson knew that that wasn't true. He wrote one of those original articles that meant his newspaper was among those taken to court.
When they had to weigh the words of what they saw as young tearaways against the words of a pillar of the community and his loving and supportive wife, they went with Anglesea, and the fallout was catastrophic. A few weeks after the verdict, Mark Humphreys, one of the victims and witnesses against him, he said that he just couldn't live with the fact that he wasn't believed, and he hanged himself.
There were other survivors who did make it to see Anglesea finally punished.
There was no remorse. In fact, Anglesea's defence team have promised an appeal. The judge, though, said he was certain the convictions are safe and sentenced him to 12 years.
North Wales Police have again apologised to all his victims and their families. Anglesea is finally heading to prison, but it's a moment his victims waited far too long to see. Tom Parmenter, Sky News, Mould Crown Court.
How did Allan Richards get away with it for so long, and why has it taken so long for him to be brought to justice?
Allan Richards is a really deviant serial paedophile, and the way he intimidated and persuaded his victims to not come forward was how paedophiles operate. However, on a number of occasions, some victims did come forward and some members of the public. And when that did happen to the police, we did investigations, we took some action, but there was no further action from files we put to the Crown Prosecution Service. The evidence wasn't good enough. Because the evidence wasn't good enough, he retained his position as a police officer, albeit he was removed from public contact from 2004 through to when he retired at 2011. I have to say, I think there's some significant learning for West Midlands Police here. That's why we've referred it to the Independent Police Complaints Commission. If we could have done a thorough investigation and prosecuted him effectively, then perhaps we could have safeguarded more victims of the future, and for that we're genuinely sorry. And I want to thank the courageous victims who've come forward and put their statements on record that have enabled his conviction now over this week, and hopefully they've got some justice. I would say that The investigation that was in 2014-2015 was incredibly thorough from a public protection unit that we've massively invested in, and the culture of the organisation is to look in fine detail at all investigations like this to get a successful prosecutions. I want the public of the West Midlands to trust us. We're here to protect the most vulnerable. This was the ultimate betrayal of victims by this one officer. He's not only betrayed those victims, he's also betrayed the hundreds and hundreds of officers who work really hard in child protection, in domestic abuse, in vulnerable adult protection, to make their lives better and to protect the most vulnerable. He's betrayed that. I would say to the public, we're genuinely sorry about what's happened, and if you have been a victim of crime, phone us and you'll see how we treat it seriously.